VAR was introduced to football in order to save us from terrible refereeing decisions. So that's going well, don't you think? It's hilarious to look back and think about how much people wanted VAR and how it was going to cut out all of the controversy. Oh my god. Instead, all it served to do is show you just how staggeringly incompetent the referees are, and there's no better way to celebrate that than with today's list, the top 10 worst VAR decisions in Premier League history. I've tried to pick bad VAR calls that either stand out as an example of their kind of bad decision or are in some way unique. So with that said, let's go for a little marginal offside call with number 10, Man City vs West Ham 2019. Now, if you didn't know, the cameras used to make these calls only go at 50 frames per second. People much better at math than I have figured out that the margin for error on these cameras is 13 centimeters for an offside call. Yet VAR claimed that Sterling was 2.4 centimeters offside. In response to people pointing out that their measurements were not even close to being factual, VAR has responded by refusing to acknowledge the scientific facts in favour of continuing to draw lines with crayon. Do you remember when the benefit of the doubt was given to the attacker? That has been thrown out the window in favour of supposed precision given by technology which, as it turns out, isn't even accurate. And nowadays it's all too familiar a sight. It's pretty much a certainty that if you're a fan of a Premier League side, you can name at least one offside call that's like this. That's why, for the most part, we're having this entry cover so many of the offside calls we've seen. However, one or two might get a special mention later in the list. Number 9, Manchester United vs Chelsea 2020. All hail to his frigidness, may praise forever be to his name. The man who is so hopeless as to have become a punchline in the Ghanaian Houses of Parliament is back again with another terrible piece of defending. In a 0-0 draw versus Chelsea, his frigidness can be seen putting his arm around Aspilicueta's neck and pulling him down. It's rather blatant, to be honest. Yet no penalty was given because I'll get back to you when I can think of a reason. Don't hold your breath. Number 8, Manchester United vs Wolves 2023. Brings the pain. Onana tries to recreate the Schumacher assault as he absolutely clatters the Wolves player, leading to an obvious penalty and a... Ref? I said leading to an obvious penalty? No penalty. We live in an era where players get penalties for obvious dives, and yet this clothesline from hell is waved off, and what are the rules even? And yes, this is only entry number 8. Brace yourselves. Number 7, Newcastle vs Aston Villa 2022. Newcastle seem to be specialists in having goals disallowed for not fouling the goalkeeper. We're picking this one over the Brentford 2023 edition, but really it could have been either. In this particular case, the cross into the box is met at the back post by an imperious Dan Burn, who heads it back across goal to be accidentally bundled in by Crystal Palace defender Mitchell. However, VAR check for a foul on the goalkeeper. Wilson does collide with the goalie. However, it's quite clearly because he's pushed in the back by Mitchell. Nevertheless, VAR overturned the goal to the shock of absolutely everybody. Imagine getting shoved into the goalkeeper, thus eliminating your chance to score. Having the defender who pushed you score an own goal, then having the goal disallowed because you were shoved. Angry doesn't even begin to cover it. Number 6, Wolves vs Manchester City 2021. This was one of the many BS handball decisions we've seen, but armpit gate was so bad that it managed to stand out. The ball is smashed from close range into Moutinho's armpit and is given as a penalty. Yes, we have replays. It's just yet another decision that's honestly bizarre. Number 5, Tottenham vs Brighton 2020. Højbjerg has the ball outside of Tottenham's box when he is, as the commentator put it,
he was side down again. And
the referee waves play on and the ball falls to Brighton as they manage to score a well-worked goal. VAR then asks the referee to have a look at the monitor. He watches the clear foul. The commentary team are remarking about how odd it is that he didn't give the foul in the first place as it was right in front of him, and unbelievably, the referee decides, nah, screw you, and awards the goal to the bewilderment of basically everybody. Number 4, Aston Villa vs Crystal Palace 2022. Lukadenye jumps to try and compete for the ball in the air. The ball is then headed down from above him onto his arm and... oh yes, it's given. So to be clear, he's jumping, the ball is headed from right behind him directly onto his hand. What the hell is he supposed to do? Not have arms? Seriously, with modern handball laws, arms are a massive disadvantage. What do you mean they help you balance? Balancing isn't allowed. The referees have decided you are wrong. Similar incidents have happened to Eric Dyer against West Ham and Aymeric Laporte against Tottenham, along with many other cases. And it's pretty obviously wrong. It shows you what happens when clueless bureaucrats get to make rules for a game they don't understand. embarrassing. Number 3, Liverpool versus Tottenham 2023. The top 3 can go in any order you like. To be honest, the whole video can go in any order you like. It's all just ridiculous crap. They are all so far off the deep end of being wrong to the point of bizarre as to almost become funny. As for this entry, well, it looked onside in real time, it looked onside in the replay. Yeah, it was pretty damn onside, wasn't it? They didn't even bother with the Cruella lines this time. They just confirmed no goal quickly in a bizarre turn of events. After the game, the referees released the audio from VAR confirming that they thought the goal had been given, and so said check complete in order to agree with that goal being given. By the time they realised their terrible mistake, red tape prevented them from stopping the game to fix the error. Just magnificently incompetent from top to bottom. It's like a Monty Python sketch brought to life. Number 2, Tottenham versus Sheffield United. Entries number 7 and 4 do the fusion dance to give us this perfect little microcosm known as the refs are clueless. In the build-up to a rare goal from Harry Kane, Tottenham winger Lucas Moura is barged into from behind in a clear foul. Just as he's hitting the ground, the ball is hit into the back of his arm by a Sheffield United player trying to clear it. The ball breaks to Harry Kane, who beats a man before scoring. It really is 7 and 4 combined, as Moura is falling to the ground having been shoved over, his arm, which is breaking his fall, has the ball hit against it from point-blank range. I'd really like a referee to explain exactly what Moura is supposed to do here. Seriously. Should he tuck his arms behind his back and just smack his face into the ground every time he's falling, just in case someone hits the ball off of his arm as he's going down? He's literally been pushed over. I mean, it's just really depressing that these people have a say in football at any level when they think this is a handball. My God. Honourable mentions, Chelsea versus Liverpool Carabao Cup final. The cup final saw Chelsea score a goal only to have it disallowed for offside. The line drawn is from Lukaku's arm and clearly shows his body well onside. And I just wanted to remind Liverpool fans the time you won a trophy due to a terrible decision going in your favour. I'll bet you're not interested in replaying this match, or the Champions League final for that matter. Aston Villa versus Sheffield United 2020. The Aston Villa goalkeeper catches a ball from a long free kick and is accidentally pushed into his own goal by his own teammate. The ball clearly crosses the line, yet the referee's goal line technology watch failed to go off, which is incidentally the only reason it's not on the list. This goal not being counted actually kept Aston Villa up as well. Just weird. And a final honorary mention goes to every dive ever. Look, there are just far too many of these to count. Fernandez and Salah alone could have their own top 10 lists. And before you, yes, you, supporter of random Premier League team, goes into the comments to say something, the sad reality is every team in the league dives. All of them. Your team, my team, your friend's team, all of them. The players would be stupid not to dive. Think of it this way. If you dive and you're successful, you get a penalty for your team. Huge upside. If you're not, the game plays on. You're not punished. In extremely rare scenarios, a player gets booked for simulation. So why wouldn't you dive? Even if you could get a real punishment like a 3-match ban, we all know it, like the yellow cards, would almost never happen. I know this because I've seen refs have given clear and obvious replays of people diving and still give penalties. I spent a day watching dive after dive after dive giving us penalties in the research for this video. It's sickening, but as long as people pretend it's a stonewall penalty when it's their team, it'll never change. A dive is a dive no matter who it is, and I'm so sick of people trying to claim the slightest touch makes a penalty. Honestly, just fuck off. However, even with the many dives that have been given, one decision holds a special place in the pantheon of mind-meltingly terrible decisions. Without any further ado, number 1, Manchester United versus Aston Villa 2020. Now, I've seen a lot of penalties given for dives. However, I've never seen one quite like this. A loose ball just outside the Aston Villa penalty area is picked up by Bruno Fernandez, who attempts to roulette the Aston Villa defender. Halfway through his spin, Fernandez's right leg lands directly on the defender's leg, in what very much could be a foul against the Portuguese midfielder. Instead, Fernandez grabs said right leg, screaming out in fake pain, and is awarded a penalty. What possible argument is there that Fernandez is fouled here? He literally stands on the other player. The classic Twitter out of context freeze frame could show Fernandez as a definitive red card for trying to break another player's ankle. Well, it isn't that. Giving a penalty for studding someone while having a camera to see what happened is truly a one-of-a-kind idiotic moment from the referees. And that's our list. Did I miss your favourite atrocious VAR decision out? What horrible things has VAR done since I wrote this script in early October? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe lest VAR overrule your birth for being offside.